Welcome to the Be Prepared channel. I am Long Snow Zim, your host, and today we're going to talk about compost bins. I've been composting for a number of years, but what I thought I knew about composting, I am learning that maybe I didn't know as much as maybe I thought. How complicated could composting be? Well, sometimes it turns out to be more complicated than one would think. But today I just want to talk about the compost system that I have. This is basically just a commercial, composting bin system that you can buy. I can honestly say that before, when I was just doing composting and I thought I was serious about it, I didn't really ever fill these things up. But now that I am super serious about everything that comes in and goes out of my home, I'm finding that maybe I'm running out of space. Maybe I wasn't as serious as I thought, and maybe, ta-da, the darn thing is filling up. So, gosh, what can I say about the commercial compost bins? They seem to work okay. They're fairly limited in space. The more serious that I've gotten, the more I realized that I actually I need more space. I've actually got two of these. And the way I used to do these, the way I used to use these, was that I would have 1 year I'd be filling this one, for example, and then the next year I would be filling this one, and I would be using the material from that one. Well, I'm now finding that maybe that isn't going to work so well now that I'm super vigilant about my composting and what goes into here. Now, what's changed? A lot of things have changed. For example, I'm now paying attention to all of the junk mail and waste products that are in my home. About half the stuff that shows up in my mailbox is actually stuff that can be tossed in a shredder and ends up in my compost. So that's one thing that's changed. I didn't do that previously, and I'm finding out that probably 1/3 to 1/2 of all of my mail that shows up actually can be shredded and tossed into my compost. The other half of it, anything that's shiny, colorful, those kinds of things, I don't really trust what the materials that's printed with, so I don't keep that kind of thing. But anything else that's conventional paper-looking kind of material, that stuff can be composted. Now the thing about composting that I want to cover here very quickly is that there's a couple things that you need to know about composting. First off, if there's something that goes on your table and that goes into your body, it can be put in the compost bin. Now, I know there's a lot of conventional wisdom out there, a lot of nonsense that we're taught about, you shouldn't put anything in there other than just vegetable materials and blah, blah, blah. No fats, no meats. It's nonsense. Conventional wisdom is horse bucky, okay? If you can eat it, then the microbes and microorganisms in your compost pile, they can use it also. Now, something else that's important to your composting, I didn't do this until recently, and I just bought this about a month ago, and I'm realizing that I have been composting completely in the dark, is a compost thermometer. Now, this one here that I've got is called a RioTemp compost thermometer. It's a 2-foot-long compost thermometer, and this thing is absolutely, it's great. It's well built. Right now, my temperatures in my compost pile are about 132 to 134 degrees. It's just, without this information, it's hard to know what's really going on. When I bought the compost thermometer, I went ahead and came out and put the thermometer in, and I realized my compost pile wasn't doing anything. Okay, and because of this information that I now had because of my thermometer, I grabbed my pitchfork, my garden fork, and I started digging down in my pile and started to figure out, well, hold on here. There's no air getting down inside this pile. I obviously wasn't adding enough carbon material to the pile. The pile had gotten kind of soggy and wet from the wet material that I'd been adding, and it had gotten super cold and it had frozen, and so the compost really wasn't doing well. And so because I knew now with the compost thermometer the temperatures weren't right, and I dug down in there, I could see, I was able to figure out that, okay, I need to go ahead and put some of that wood mulch in here, some straw in there, get some leaves and throw it in there, mix it up a little bit, and voila, instamagically, my compost started to heat up, and it's been on a tear ever since. Compost thermometer, absolutely essential piece of gear, piece of kit for your composting pleasure, okay? Now, I think I briefly touched on the fact that, the key to a good compost system is not only can you put anything in here that you would put in your body, but you also need to make sure you have a good cover material. The straw, again, Craigslist was my friend. I went out to Craigslist, found a rancher, farmer, who actually had straw for sale, and so I made an arrangement to go out and meet him, and he sold me, it was like 10 bales of straw. I took my pickup truck out there and filled up my truck clear full of straw, and so I've got straw to build up to mulch beds, and I use it for my cover material in my compost bins. The key to making sure your compost bin is maintained well is to make sure you have adequate cover. This stuff is a miracle. As soon as you put it over here, there's no more smells, there's no more bugs, there's no more anything. It is the key to a clean, healthy, pleasant composting experience instead of an unpleasant, aromatic, less than fun experience. I come out here just to come out and see the thermometer sometimes because it's so much fun. Composting is a key and critical piece to your homesteading adventure. If you are planning on having a garden, you really need to turn your household waste, your household items into compost and turn it back into food. Close that ecological loop so that the inputs and outputs start to balance out. One of the things that I'm using in my compost and for cover material is this wood mulch. Now the wood mulch is actually coming from the tree that we cut down. I've got a shredder that I bought specifically for this purpose, and because I'm planning on having fruit trees in my front lawn, as I'm going to turn it into a little mini orchard here this year, we're going to go ahead and we're going to use the trimmings, the prunings off of the trees, and we'll continue to make more mulch, and we'll continue to use it as a cover material for our gardens and for our compost. Absolutely fantastic. The other thing that is essential is, again, Craigslist is your friend. Go out there and look to see under the free section people giving away leaves. I know, you're thinking, gosh, somebody giving away leaves? Who'd ever thought it? You might have actually given away leaves yourself. See how silly you are? That's gold. You're giving away money. It's fantastic stuff. It's absolutely essential. It's perfect for your gardens, for your yard, for your compost. It is gold, okay? So I bought some cans to keep that stuff dry because I want to be able to put it in a proper mixture to make sure that I balance out my nitrogen, my carbon, and my wet and dry in my compost pile. The key to getting those hot temperatures are learning how to balance the greens, your carbons, and your nitrogens, and the moisture in your pile, and you'll get hot temperatures. And right now it's kind of chilly out right now. It's got to be like 40 degrees outside. It's kind of I'm actually a little chilled. And that pile's sitting there telling me it's 134 degrees. So what can I say? It's an amazing thing, and it's something that's critical to any homesteader, any urban homesteader, any prepper. If you're thinking about gardening, which hopefully you are, compost is essential. What I would say is that depending on your scale and the size of your garden and your composting, a system like this, a 2-bin system like this, might be more than adequate for you. But if you really get serious and you really start to save everything that you can and start to recycle everything you can, you may find that this is not going to be big enough. And unfortunately, that's what I'm finding is that my system is probably not going to be big enough. Within a month or so, I think I probably will have both of these bins full, and I'll be looking for additional space. So I'm going to end up having to build a bin system, and so I'm looking at that as a project I'll be videotaping and telling you more about in the future. And right next to this here, I've got some wonderful manure that was given to me in exchange for some wood, and the rancher that provided that for me, she's got a lot more, and she says you should let me have it for like $20 for a truckload of manure. So I'm excited about that because I have got a lot of garden beds and a lot of places I need to put a lot of organic material in, and we'll try to turn as much of this landscape into a water sponge as possible. And compost is an amazing water sponge. Okay, so things that we call waste probably aren't. Check out composting systems, and I'll post some more information later about how to build a compost system, or how I'm going to build my compost system. And hopefully you find this enjoyable, helpful, and I'll catch you next time.